Hey, good morning, my neighbors. Welcome to another episode of BYTTT. Before you take the trade, we got a lot that we're going to be covering. The primary thing that I want to kind of cover is the fact that the market has been doing some very interesting moves, and I'm looking for this. Let me grab this chart and put it over here. And I'm looking for it to really lead to some very interesting moves to this upside because the dollar has done what I thought it was going to do. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these charts and see what we're talking about. So let's go into NQ. Let me come down to a 15 minutes so you can kind of see this a little properly. Nice little opening range. We're still pushing up to this upside. Now, don't get it twisted. Let me grab it. I forgot. I said I was going to do this first. Let me do this first. All right. My FX book is my favorite. If you want to use Forex Factory and all the other ones, by all means, you can do that. That's not a problem. All right. So, Chair Powell is going to go ahead and run his mouth some more. We got uh, mortgage rates. We got new home sales. All these don't have a lot of effect. This one I'm curious about on oil. I think when oil kind of really takes off or it starts to plan something, I think there's going to be an opportunity for you to really play oil because not only did we get to that upper register, we came right back down inside of the channel that we kind of built, and I'm going to explain that. And I think they're going to try to bounce it right back outside that channel, especially this is summer. Normally, oil prices are a lot more expensive going into the summer, so we're going to go ahead and look at that. And then we're going to prepare ourselves properly for the fact that GDP sales, corporate PCE is coming, the growth rate, durable balance of trade is going to be there, jobs report, all of this stuff is going to be tomorrow. So we're going to break out what's going to happen between today and what's going to happen going into what it do, Rod, and what's going to happen tomorrow. So let's go ahead and get started. So let me erase that. Let's get that out of the way. I'm still getting a nice little push up here. I'm not gonna lie. I want to put that inside. You know what? Let me get in by leap. I think I'm gonna get into that bad boy. Oh Lord, wrong one. Leap. That's all one. All right. So I really want to go ahead and get into this monster. Right. So here's what I think. Right. Because we went ahead and took the challenge of the new highs, right? Not only did we get past the downward trend line, which the better entry would have been roughly around here, which I kind of explained last week, but we could literally took out each and every one of these pivots, and we're basically beating out the market that thinks that they can keep on selling off. This is NQ, right? So when we're looking in its totality, like remember I drew this trend line a while back. Let's fix that, right? Now our pivot is back here. We're making higher highs. Wait a minute, we consolidated sideways. Now we can go ahead. Let me get rid of this. I don't need this right now. Right? Now we can go ahead and look at this area as our pivot here. So we kind of like running a little sideways-ish, but we're still rising. So this is how you kind of get those slow movement, but keep on rising. Where can I find an entry? Well, if you want to look for an entry in this, I would wait for it to touch this trend line, or if it's going to give you a nice little impulsive candle that you feel like it's going to have some support, cool. Maybe you do the green take out red. It's whatever your technique is, you want to look for it as close to this line as possible because it's coming off of an original pivot that started all the way back here that broke away from a pivot of a pivot, and you could kind of see where the deviations come in. So that's what I'm very curious about. I think with Jay Powell talking, they might try to take a stab at this line if we don't touch it, or during the New York session, we'll come back and touch this line over here, and that will make things very interesting. Well, this says all the way back into it. Maybe not New York session, because New York session will probably really liquidate some people. Let's get rid of this thing. Maybe during the overnight session tonight, we're probably going to get some pullback. All right, so let's go ahead and keep this going. We got oil. So like I said, today we're going to get some oil inventory. This is what I was explaining earlier. Look at what oil did. Nice micro trend to break a major trend. We're back at that line. If the inventory report is in line with what they're expecting to make this go ahead and shoot up, I want to say they're going to be slowing down production. So it's going to be low volume. That means the price per barrel is going to be higher. I would not be surprised if this thing just shoots up. Just keep that in mind. All right. So that is oil. This is gold. Market is dropping, right? The dollar is losing value, but for some reason this thing is not rising to that upside. Look, you would think dollar dropping, gold would rise. Well, let's go over to silver. Let's see what's happening over there. It's being dragged because silver was always in a tear. So I think because of that, there's people that's just getting off of commodities. It makes me think that the dollar is going to gain some strength soon. That's what it. So let's reverse engineer that a little bit. You take your U.S. dollars, buy commodities like your golds and your silver. That means you now have converted your cash into the value of what gold is, right? That's why you always hear people are hedging their positions using gold because the tendency of the market falling, gold tends to rise, right? Because what ends up happening, it puts the pressure onto the market. So they'll take their capital out of riskier assets and they'll hedge accordingly. I think right now they're not too sure where it's going to go. They see the dollar is losing its value, so they're like, okay, then that means some of these companies like your AI stocks, they're starting to make some moves. I'm going to show y'all what I mean with AI, with Meta, Nvidia, all of them. They're starting to get some capital that's being tossed inside of there. So it's going to be very interesting on how silver responds. It's at its level. We already gave it a bounce here. Is it strong enough to make gold do almost the same bounce? Does it take out this downward trend? We got one, and then we got a small deviation that's starting to take effect when we took out this low. Are we going to get all the way down to this level? Very, very possible, but we have to see how the market reacts. Here's the British pound. It is not rising like, see, this is a rise, but the British pound. So there's a little bit of a divergence that's happening with the British pound. Again, if there's a falling British pound, that means the US dollar might be strengthening. Are they taking their cash and sitting on cash right now, making the dollar much more valuable because it's at its lowest point? Very, very possible, and I'm very curious on what the British pound does. If we start to get inside of this trend, maybe like that 1.35, look for the dollar to do something insane. Here's ES, still pushing up, but it has not taken out this one. This was one that I was looking at for, higher highs. So NQ has hit their high highs. ES has not hit their high highs. Their high is at 66.50, and we peaked out yesterday at 61.55, so about 11 points away. Here's the Russell. Looks like they're throwing some money inside of the Russell now. I needed to break this pivot here so I can move this trend line. Get up there. Right, I need them to break that pivot here so I can move this trend line and readjust it. Right now, it looks like a potential that we might break it. And then the last one is the infamous dollar. Again, we got outside of that order block. This is that order block I drew back not too long ago using the previous data that was all the way back here because this was during the 2022 rise. And you can kind of see it's just very, very, very Molotov cocktail type of choppy here. And this thing can destroy a portfolio with how much we just kind of sit on this block. But now that we're under it, now they're asking the question, is this block a resistance or support? Is it bullish or bearish? Right now, it's showing signs of potentially being bearish, but if we can take out this whole entire imbalance here, we probably could get a rise out of the dollar. And we got ourselves bullish divergences down here too. Like, look at that. That's another one there. Let's see this weekly. Weekly is a little exhausted, kind of curling up here in the stochastic. Monthly is trying to decide, are we going to break the zero line? What if it doesn't break that zero line? So there's a lot of question marks around the dollar, and based on what the dollar does, it's going to have a major impact inside of the market. All right, so let's go ahead and get into these tickers because I'm going to sound as very contradictory as possible because I have to take the charts for what it's designed to. I do think the dollar is going some type of a bounce, but that bounce could be just a retracement to continue back down to the downside. Again, we did break under here, so this order block can turn into a resistance or demand area to go ahead. Sorry, not demand, a supply area where it's just giving it all away. So just keep that in mind as I'm going through these tickers. Like, well, Jeff, you said the market's going to fall. Yeah, I did not say that. I'm just saying the dollar can rise to make the market fall. but it doesn't guarantee any of this. Remember, I'm not a fiduciary. I'm just a guy that likes to click on charts and tell y'all what I see. All right, so Netflix still making new highs. This thing is ripping and roaring. It's sitting on top of imbalances on imbalances. It is just, this is just a lot of green. This is a lot of green. Can you imagine Netflix was $822 just about 3 months ago? Crazy, just crazy. So where does Netflix go from here? I think I've explained this to y'all on yesterday. Just draw a fib, put it up there, make a take profit one, put some negative numbers on there, see what levels that they can get to. That's probably what you want to do with like a Netflix, because of where it is. Again, long-term investing, it needs to reset. That's a good solid on the daily, but this weekly, it's been up here for a while. This monthly, it's been up here for a while. There may be a pullback, so just make sure you plan accordingly. Meta, I took a little bit of a stab into this bad boy because I was looking for them to break 700. They gapped it. I almost hesitated against it because I was like, well, we did stop here at 69905, and this gap, what if this thing doesn't hold? But it started to show that it was going to hold this break of structure, so I was a little bit more confident. Nice. I love what the Stoch is doing. If we go over to the weekly, yes, it's high on the stochastic, but it feels like it's just now starting. They try to set it off. All these individuals are probably out of the way right now, and I think they're going to take out not only the rest of this imbalance, which they already did. I think they're going to try to test the highs. I would love to see what it does at 740. If it can hold that 740, there's speculation. I think, yeah, Citigroup has raised its target for Meta platforms to 803. Does not mean that next week is going to be 803. Does not mean that it's going to do it in the next couple of days. Does not mean it's going to do it in the next couple of quarters. It's probably going to take some time because they're going to always adjust it. They had a target of 690 and it blasts right through it. These are what. Now, let me take a step back. Analysts are not the smartest ones in the room, right? They're doing exactly the same thing that you're doing. They're drawing some lines on the chart. They're speculating just like you do. Now, the difference is you have a strategy, and your strategy is much more sound than theirs because theirs are driven by institutionals. You are the one that actually can move a little bit more nimble than they can. So just always keep that in mind. So even though that they speculated 690, cool, no problem, fine, whatever, right? 690 is over here in this level, and you could see they probably baited enough people to just keep on selling because of this 690 level. Let me go ahead and draw a line right here. Right, this is the 690, and look what it did. You got 3 weeks of reaction to the downside. How come it didn't fall? Because they probably were like, hey, we're 690 is not enough. But those that know smart money, we're breaking down from a downward trend. We're breaking through it. If you're the type of person that follow analysts and like, all right, I'm going to short when Citibank says to short it, you probably were like, oh, I just needed to break this support and I'll be fine. And they just pile right against you. And then you get caught inside of what is considered a bull trap. They know that you're going to go ahead and get in. They get all the bears inside of there. And then they trap them in there until the pain is unbearable enough. And they're like, all right, I'll get out here. And then that's when they get the slight little reversal. All right, so just keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and keep this going. What else we got? LMT, I did kind of warn y'all that I didn't like how it popped up. I felt like because it was sitting on this order block, it was going to go ahead and hold. Yesterday was a very bloodshot red day. They lost about $12 in price. So this was a good rejection off of the order block. If you did take it, congratulations. Microsoft is still trucking. Again, this is new highs. Do the same thing. Draw some fibs. See where it can go. I think they're aiming for 500. Very possible. But don't get caught holding the bag. It might be a bag of potatoes today, but it might be excrement right after. All right. Now, HCA, it pulled back something vicious, which makes me think that UNH is going to pop very soon. All right. I'm not saying anything crazy is going to happen, but I don't know how I feel about this June 16th drop. I don't know. I think they want to fill the rest of this gap, which should bring us to about here. Let me move this out the way. What's that level? Almost 400. I think that's what they're really looking for. But because of UNH's major drop, And it's ironic from when this major drop kind of happened, it's almost similar to the major drop that UNH had. And as UNH started to drop here, HCA rise. I think that's what they're looking for. Just be careful with it. I don't know how I feel about that sweep they did. They did two of them. One here on the 9th, one here on the 16th. And I think it probably scared off enough bulls here. Let me draw some trend lines for y'all. So we're taking this level and this level. That's one of the deviations. And then you got this level here and this level here. That's another deviation. And then you got the original, which is this and this. So we broke through with that sweep. They try to get it back up slowly, get above here, and they grab all the sweep inside of here. Not a good sign. It could lead to where the market's like, well, we're not going to let y'all have this again. So I want y'all to just keep an eye on that if it breaks through. Tesla really made me mad, right? And I was just about to get in. And actually, let me just take a moment here. Very important. If you're saying a level is what you want to break above and you want it to hold above it, it needs to do it with strength, because this is the thing that can determine whether you get a good trade or a bad trade. So I had one of these levels, and one of them, it was just basically a psychological level. I wasn't even looking at anything particular, right? I was looking for, well, you know what? This 350 seems to be a very tough area, right? We used it as resistance before. It was support for a little bit until they broke through, which led to the February 25th drop, which was a little massive. And then we got ourselves a slow walk back to it. They tried to hold it. It failed, but we didn't make no lower lows. And then this should be it. Man, that Monday, I looked at this. I was like, okay, we got above the 350. I'm going to go ahead and walk away. I'm going to wait till 3 o'clock to maybe close to the end of the day. If it held above 350, I would have been in it. But this thing gave it a nice little wick. And part of me was like, well, Tesla kind of does these little wanky stuff. Maybe they just pulled it back just that way they can do some massive little gap up, right? And I said, nope, we're going to stick with our rules. Rules are meant for us to keep ourselves safe, right? And you can see they pulled it back to 340. It's up pre-market. Maybe they're accumulating it again to get to that point. I don't want to speculate that deep, because that doesn't matter. But I will tell you this: if this thing gets into like the 334s, they might be coming back for all these bulls that thought it was going to be cute to get back to that upside, and it might make an M pattern, almost solidifying what I kind of saw as a bear flag. Hold on, let me see something. Did we get past 50%? It's pretty close. Let's see. Yeah, we got past it. So we invalidated what would have been a bear flag. So yeah, there's just, until that 350 holds, I don't see Tesla going back up. That's just what it is at this point. They might come all the way back to this trend line and then bounce it again. They might do some other crazy stuff. We're probably just stuck in the middle of a whole lot of consolidation. If we go over to the weekly, it looks like this. It's not the easiest thing to trade. For those that trades Tesla, it's when it makes these kind of like side slides like this. It's when you make your money. This one was a nice little drop here and then a drop here. But you can see Tesla can make some very violent. Look at that. For 3 candles, it erased a whole entire week here. And then we got this one right here. Massive move is what we're looking for. So just look for 3. I think the moment that this 350 holds, it will then confirm that there's nothing less left in that downtrend. And I think they just released their robo taxi pilot on some of these cars. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Here's UNH. This is what I was explaining earlier. It's building a base. Could it be that they realize that the base is starting to look a little stronger? People are coming into it. They're a very, very strong company. I don't think they're going to go anywhere, but they got a lot of scandal. They're going to have to clear up that mess. So it's still a high risk, high reward, because if there's more garbage or scandal inside of their investigation that just pops up, this thing can break that support very, very easily, because it just formed it. after a massive sell-off here. This used to be a $600 stock. It's half its value right now. So what I would say is I would love for it to get above 334, 318 with some strength before I actually take anything to the upside. But UNH being on top of my 800 weekly 800 EMA, I'm very, very interested on them trying to test, maybe to fill this gap. If it continues to the downside, no problem. But again, I'm a trader, not an investor. So if you're looking from an investment standpoint, just make sure it gets above that 334 before you get in, because this thing can give you better prices down here. All right, we got ourselves. Wait, when was that news coming out? Hold on. Let me go grab the news again. Do we have anything today? I know we had something today, but I don't know if it's coming out. Oh, it's not till 9. Okay, we got time, so I'll be able to run through these tickers. IBM, I already told y'all, this is the pioneer of everything AI anyways, and it's continuing at its upside. I think it's strong. The Royal Caribbean, it's in the middle of that pullback that you need as they start to go into the summer. I think that's what they were trying to driving for, and you could see that we kind of pulled back and it's pushing right back to its regular scheduled program. So I like this one here. Let's see, TMUSA. Look at this. I just drew this randomly. Not really did it on purpose, but you know, for the most part, I said we are exhausted on this downside. We made the gap down. They might come back and fill the gap, which they did. And after they fill that gap, they might go ahead and fill right back over. You know what? Maybe I should have treated like an IV flush. Probably could have did the pre-market here after I said that. That was like, yeah, that was Monday. And we opened here. Could have. Let me go into 15-minute. It would have been this day right here after that gap. This is 9:30. That would have been this level here and that level. Yeah, they used that as support, reloaded, and continued. And continued to the upside. And that was a nice little massive move. Looks like the momentum is continuing too. Very interesting. All right, let me go ahead and come back to the daily. Let's see what happens here. So, if you don't know who T-Mobile is, they're the #1 carrier right now. Kind of beat out the Verizons of the world and everything else. They did pay out a dividend, so I felt like if they were going to bounce, it would have been here, and you could kind of see the price action. They tried. We're still inside of the downward trend line. Is this the momentum to kind of like put some real pressure? Very possible. If we take these 3 candles or 2 candles, let's see this one right here. This is our micro trend into a deviation of that trend into another one, but I'm not going to do that second one, which would be this higher low right here. And if it respects it, then we're cool. But you can see they came for the gap, and pre-market it's already down a little bit. So unless they come back for this fair value gap over here, unless they really push through this 200, unless they break above and hold 232, I wouldn't play this to the upside after this massive move. Wait for a pullback. All right, what else we got? Boeing, if you know, you know. CVX is down for obvious reasons. Oh, 3M. 3M did something very interesting, which made me mad. I was waiting for that 148 to hold. Let me see, squeeze this chart a little bit. 148 to hold, and it was starting to chase up to that. I think it was this one, 147-ish. No, that's 149. Where are you? Might have been this one here. It got close. Yeah, it was this one. So back in the middle of June, I was looking for this thing to hold it above that 148. It did not. It put in the bullish divergence. I hesitated because I was like, I'm going to wait for the breakout. This didn't break out until it gapped up. So I'm probably going to be looking into a position here and try to decide if I'm going to go ahead and actually hold this. This one, I do think overall it's going to go back to its stride of being a really, really good company. They used to be up in that 200 level. I think that is their true value at this point. They had to clear their lawsuit, and we'll see what happens here. Very, very, very sound company. And if you look at their fundamentals, you'll feel a little bit better about it because they return money to shareholders. That's all you can ask for. And they're a $5 billion company from a revenue standpoint. So if they clean up some more, maybe they could get some, they probably could eke out and squeeze out some more profits. UPS is starting to build its base down here. Very curious if it can hold. Pre-market is down. Let's go with Starbucks. This thing is still looking like it's going to continue to fall after breaking a very, I wouldn't say very key. Let me not say it like that. I was looking for them to hold that 95 with some strength. It got in and they can't get it back up there. So where are they looking for more? Maybe they're looking for us to get to the 90 level and then bounce. That's possible. But if they really start to fail this, we're talking about, we already got our deviations here. This will be our trend line, which will align with the 90, align with the 50, and it needs to build a solid base. This is already turned over. This is bullish, but this is already turned over, not looking good. And in the weekly, we need to get you past this zero line. Come on, like wake up, wake up. Let's see. I'll give y'all 5 more, and then we'll probably wrap it there since there is no news. No. For those that knows, I still chart this. If you don't remember this company. Let's see. Of course, SoFi is still making its move. I got a small position into that one, but I think I'm going to go ahead and get those option contracts I was looking for. We got Eli Lilly. I think it's just inside of its wedge because they know there's competition. Damn, Spotify. Still? I thought it was going to at least fall here. This thing is still moving. It closed at 749 and pre-market's at 753. I don't know what they're giving away over there. But yeah, they're getting investors to pile in. Carvana looks like it's still making its move to the upside. This is what I'm caring about. Amazon. I was looking for Amazon to get back inside of here before it rise. I don't like this bounce right now, so I kind of pulled back on this one. I may wait for it to get above 215 before I get in here, which will suck. It would really, 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 really suck. Yeah, it would really, really suck. I feel like we're running into resistance here based on this level. If I did a box here, it feels like this line is an order block. That's how it feels. You can see the reaction here. You can see the reaction here. You can see the reaction here. And I think that's all I have, right? Yeah, that's all I have, right? So, so it makes me a little apprehensive in that regard. So I don't know if I want to take it earlier and then just run into a brick wall. You can see they try to close it here, close it here, close it here, and they came to pick up some new friends. Are you my friends? Are you my trend? Are you going to be the one that actually takes us back up? I want to see how this pre-market holds. Maybe Jay Powell says something very astonishing that makes everybody want to pour their money back into the market. But yeah, anything above 217 is a sound position. I think this thing can get through this area at 221. And there's a little bit of a gap up here around this 235 is what I'm aiming for. So that's why I'm like, should I get in? Maybe I should have been in April. And that's why we're here. I don't know. We'll see. All right, what else we got? Snow is moving. $9 move. I'm telling you, cybersecurity. I randomly put this here. Look at this. This thing's still going. Snow. Not Palantir. Snow. Datadog. CrowdStrike. A little sprinkle of Salesforce. These packaged software companies, they have low overhead because a lot of it is driven by AI. Oh, Micron? I haven't looked at Micron in forever. When was the last time I looked at Micron? I don't even remember their ticker. Micron. OTC. Is this the Micron? No, I don't remember it being in. It's not in the OTC. Micron is in the OTC? Hey, let me know which Micron. MU. That's what I was trying to remember the ticket. There it is. I haven't looked at Micron in like forever. Yeah, it's follow. This is a cheaper version of everything that's AMD and all of that. That's they make just intricate little tiny peripherals. You got your headphones, USB drives. I think they might be in RAM modules too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, they all use semiconductors, so this is another one in that space. Their earnings is coming up too. Might be setting up for a flush. Let's see something. Hold on. Let's take a step back. Like I said, I haven't looked at this in like forever. I used to play this, and when I got mad that AMD ran away without me, oh, I think you might have missed the boat on that, Rod. You might have missed the boat. It needs a pullback. It needs a pullback. Look at this weekly. It has, since this last red candle here, a full month of a ride up. A full month. And we got 2 more days left on this. This might be just speculative to $8 billion and 1.6. I forgot about this ticker. I haven't looked at this. You know what? Let me put this on my, what would this be? This would be considered month 3. Let me add this onto this watch list down here. I haven't looked at it. Thank you for bringing up micro. I haven't seen this in a very long time. So let's go ahead and get into it. So it had a major downtrend. We already broke through it. That probably would have been your best opportunity. Look at that consolidation cycle that they put right here. That would have been a solid move. I would say, if anything, based on this and this movement, that was your micro trend that beat up that whole entire upside. And then right here, boom. And then they said, nope, we're turning around here. So as soon as it broke out here, that would have been your stop. Your entry would have been probably about right here. Boom. Stop loss somewhere around that base here. Maybe even below here, right? And then your take profit would have been a 2-to-1. We're already there. We're already there. So that's why I'm like, maybe wait for the earnings. Play it on the IV flush. They are reporting tonight. So this will be a nice little trade setup for tomorrow. Let's see if they pile right back into it. If they did pile back in, then that means we'll be making more deviations. Hold on. Going the wrong angle, right? We're making more deviations of this uptrend. And we're probably sitting on top of that. Let's get rid of this. We're sitting on top of that. That means I put my levels for the IV flush. Then I'll probably put something along the lines of these trend lines right here. If it follows this trend line, that means they're looking for a target. It's running into this order block here. This whole entire area, I think, is an order block. I won't be surprised the sell-off happens somewhere inside of here. Won't even be surprised. Do they want this fair value gap? I do think so. Let me go ahead and mark off that fair value gap. Kind of like that. And this is a bearish fair value gap. Do they want that one? Yes. Did they test it? Yes. Did it reject? Yes. Is it time where they probably got out of their positions by here? Very possible. But they got to get past this order block, because all these people that rejected here, they piled up here. Institutions and brokers, rest of the retail traders and late bloomers like your hedge funds, they got in here and sold down to this level. Can we get there? Very possible. Interesting ticker. Let me see how this looks to NVIDIA. Let me look in NVIDIA real quick. Because if this one runs, this might... If Micron runs, they might drag NVIDIA up with it, because they'll just pour into the space. So what I mean by that is that they'll probably get into your Soxel. What was my other list? That was my semiconductor. Let me grab my other list. XLE, that will be the tech one. Is it XLK? I think that's discretionary. Haven't done that in a while. I think it might be XLK. Yep, that's the one that has NVIDIA. They might pile into your XLKs, which is NVIDIA. I haven't updated this list, so I got Visa inside of here. Adobe, Cisco System, CRM. That's the other one I'm curious about. CRM, which uses a lot of the stuff from there. They might pile into something like that. I would this might be what the people over at CNBC were saying. It might be the canary in the coal mine to let us know what's going on with the semiconductors. Appreciate that, Rod. This one can tell a lot of what July is going to look like, especially after breaking this major downtrend. Actually, let me tweak that just a little bit more. Yeah, that will be our pivot. They broke it down here, got under the 800, got back above the 800. Now we got a golden cross after doing all of that. They're like, we ain't gonna let this thing fall. Look for this thing to get wider here. That's what it looks like. Oh, and then when it gets wider, it's gonna let this thing get caught up. That's the other part. You delayed on your end. So let's see. Let me get back to my list. Appreciate that, Rod. Appreciate. Let's see. What else I got? Let me give y'all two more out of this list. Uber is making its move, and I told y'all this is that neckline. I don't know if y'all piled into that one. I gotta start setting these alerts. I gotta stop playing around. Nice little W to this upside. Very, 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 very solid trade here. You're talking about a $6 move. Hood, I already told y'all this thing is gonna go for its $85. Oh my God, pre-market's already at the 85. I should have just got in when they gave us this red candle. I did not think they were gonna be this close not to at least tap the 85. Look for it to tap 85, then push back down. Depending on the parameters, I really think it's gonna be a $100 stock when it's all said and done. Your buy now pay here laters, folks. They're still in the space, even though all the bad rumors and everything else. There are more. Okay, let me do this with the camera. I understand your Kmart layaways back in the days and all of that. It's kind of sucks, right? And I really, 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 really get it, right? And what I will tell you this is, at the end of the day, buy now, pay later is not going to go nowhere. The reason why I think this is because there are, again, this is opinion. Do not turn around and be like, well, JD said buy now. I'm not saying that. All those buy now, pay laters, it's difference between your local Kmart that was doing it in-house versus a automated computer generated system for those that are not bad actors. There are more good people that pays back than those individuals that take advantage of it. And those individuals that take advantage of it, they get kicked out of it, and they're gonna have to fix their credit, pay back their money, this, that, and the third. Like, you did a layaway, right? They gave you the stuff, and you only paid 10% of it. They had to track down where you are. You probably lied on the application. But now, they have your social security number. So it's an extended credit card for the most part. If you follow credit card rules, this thing is not going to go anywhere. So I do have a small position in the space, but I'll tell you this right now. It's almost impossible, because especially if you're in the more urban area, because I thought about it the same way. You're probably like, I remember my layaway, man. If they did layaway, they let me take the stuff. There ain't no way this is going to come back. And that's that small-minded thinking. Think about it. What about people that are in middle of New York and they like to use leverage? You already see Elon Musk leverages his whole company when he needs to pull money out of the market. He don't sell his shares. He just leverages. Hey, give me a loan for X amount of dollars, and if I fail here, then you can have my shares. That's all it is. So I think that same scope, that same ideology, and those individuals are buoying companies like this. Because if we look at this chart, let's look at the chart. Because remember, I look at the chart in its entirety to make sure what I see is what I see. I don't care what people think, it's what I see, right? Here's when it launched, right? And when it launched, it spiked up and people asked questions. Then it got into the valuation here. Then the rumors of people not paying back. Did they clean up their act? Did the people that really understand what's going on with it? There's a point where it kind of finds its bottom. That bottom was around this $20, $8. So its valuation here is probably much more in line than when it was at 176. Again, this was a lot of FOMO, people piling in, this, that, and third. They took the liquidity, whatever the reason, I don't care. But for some reason, $8 is its base. They try to push it back down again. Its lowest point was $22, and they pushed it again. I have a drawing here. And this is all just if-then statements. That's all it is. We broke out of this deviation. We broke out of this deviation. Around February, we popped up, and I was looking for, if this is going to hold, this $74, then that means it'll go up to here because of previous resistance, fill in the fair value gap, and coming back down, find some supporters and continue. It didn't do none of that. All right, cool. So what's the next level? That means they're looking for buyers. This order block sitting right here. This is where they were looking for. Did it make a lower low? No. Let's draw our deviations. This is one. And right now, this is the one. Let me take this one out because this is now invalidated. And then this one right here is what we're on. And when we made that higher high over there, this is the one we broke. But did it break the major trend line? No. Okay, cool, Rod. I appreciate that. Right? No, not at all. We didn't break that. And not only did we not break it, we got very close to it. And we've had this conversation before. If you've been following my channel, I look at things kind of like this. That's our trend line. And we kind of create channels inside of it. Let's just make it this wide just for giggles. And I look at the trend line like this. So it's elastic. There's a little, it doesn't mean it has to touch the trend line itself flush and continue. So now we got a deviation that's happening here very randomly for whatever reason, but they felt like it's the best price they can fill their orders here. This is the trend line we're on right now, on a deviation on the weekly. Can this thing continue up? Yes. Can it sell at $73? Yes. But if I'm going to put a proper if-then statement, if I'm going to look at the chart patterns and look at the stochastic, nice little curl up at the center pivot, a nice reopen of the MACD, if I'm looking at this for its totality of where can it go, and I'm being objectively driven, then the objective is I want to see if it breaks $73 because they couldn't hold it the last time. If it does, then does it hold $73? That means you need to keep bouncing somewhere in this vicinity, no more than like $70. And then I can go attack $94. Start planning out your trade, you'll be fine. And this ticker, they just jumped up 5%. This one jumped up 9%. And they're all in the same space. This is the one that is used. I want to say this is Walmart, and then this one is Amazon. Go into your Amazon. You'll see it. They're there. They use a firm. They're getting customers. So don't knock it because I feel that buy now, pay later is a dumb business. They're going to be bankrupt next month. Find me facts. They're returning money to shareholders. They're up 258%. They generate $780 million in layaway. I'm sorry, not layaway. Buy now, pay later. Let's go to Upstart, one of the originators. Generating 200 mil, but they're already returning money to shareholders. Stronger company. Is it? Maybe, but the chart is telling me something. Start planning out the trades. All right, last one, and then we'll get out of here. I already told you about DraftKings and this, that, third. Let's go into the third month. Costco. If y'all remember what I told y'all. It's tied. It's going to go down to this $1,000, and that's where it's going to have a little bit of support. It got a little bit under it, and then now we're trying to get back to that $1,000. If this $1,000 fails, if it fails, I drew 980. Why did I draw 983? Why did I draw 983? Maybe it was on the weekly. Why did I pick 983? Because that bounced just not too far from it. Very interested on why I did that. Right, so it might have been this support here. But this little push to this downside now is breaking. That means you got a micro trend to the upside. If this trend fails, this little tiny trend, look for Costco to fail to come back into this imbalance and continue to the downside, and it might go for the 200 moving average somewhere around 940. Just keep that in mind. I get it. And I know y'all look at this ticker and it's like, well, they're not going to go out of business so soon. I feel like this. Stop feeling. I don't care what you feel like, and the market doesn't. That just as much as I don't care is as much as they don't care. What do you see in the chart? And right now, what I see in the chart, it's tired. It wants to push up. Do they have enough buyers to force the sellers that started from here to get out the way? That's what you got to figure out. All right, that said, that is pretty much it. I appreciate everyone that participated on BYTTT. Don't forget, down below, my one-on-ones are there. Go ahead and sign up. It ends in the next 5 days, so get yourself a date before I go on vacation. Also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button. Like, subscribe, and the bell button. And don't be bashful or shy not to share it to friends and family. That's part of your also trading. And the insights that I bring to y'all, it really helps that algorithmic thing that YouTube does. And I can go ahead and push up to the top. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow at 8 a.m. Have a great day. Bye-bye.